Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cavanaugh's Corner. Today on the show I'm going to be talking about a more recent release in terms of the 4K Blu-ray format, and this is a movie that I really loved. It's probably one of my top favorite films of the year, and that's this guy right here, Avengers: Infinity War. Now this is the third Avengers film in the series, and I think at the time it was the 19th Marvel Studios film, so pretty much an achievement in filmmaking, but this movie here, I've already reviewed it on the channel. This movie is an outstanding film. I'm not going to be talking about the movie. Today I'm going to be focusing on the aspects of the 4K and the Blu-ray included as well. And I have to say, this is a phenomenal 4K Blu-ray. This movie, even though, again, it has no Dolby Vision, which is kind of a disappointment, this is an incredible looking movie on 4K. This is just a eye-popping experience to watch it in 4K. This movie has a lot of vibrant colors, has a lot of really, really bright moments, has some pretty dark moments. The movie as well is just very much a feast for the senses in terms of sound and vision and everything. This is really just an outstanding watch on 4K. I mean, I really, really love this film, and the experience of watching it in my home theater was just second to none. This is one of the best looking Marvel movies on 4K, even though, like I mentioned earlier, it does not have Dolby Vision, which I think would have really brought this movie to the next level. The HDR on this disc is amazing. I mean, it's truly, truly amazing. The opening scenes of the film really capture the 4K Blu-ray's format, the ability of that format, I should say, to really differentiate dark from light, to bring in, brightness in a very dark scene and have it evened out very well. This disc does that basically perfectly throughout. The battle scenes near the end of the film, especially the one in Wakanda, is absolutely stunning. I mean, that scene is just a feast for the senses. Not only is it a very, pretty cool action sequence, but it's really a wonderful scene to show off your home theater with. As for, other scenes in the film, a standout to me in terms of black levels is a scene in a train station that happens earlier in the film. Again, I won't give away any plot details in case you haven't seen this film, but there is a moment where a very popular character makes a reappearance, and that scene is just really, really, really incredible in terms of using shadows and black levels. It looked great in the theater, but at home, if you have a TV that really does well with black levels, it is going to look absolutely outstanding. It's actually even a good test scene to check to see how your black levels are doing on your TV or your projector or whatever. This is a really, really good disc to kind of jumpstart your home theater. Now, in terms of the movie watching experience, as I mentioned, video-wise, this movie is mind-blowing, as I mentioned. The HDR, the black levels, the colors that are only enhanced by the HDR, it is just a very clean-looking experience. Also, there's basically no film grain in this. I didn't see any. It's crystal clear throughout, so if you're not a big fan of grain, you're going to absolutely love the look of this film because it really does look beautiful. Now, as for the sound is a Dolby Atmos track, and it sounds great. I mean, it is a very, very, very clear audio track. Now, in terms of immersive audio, in terms of using overheads and stuff like that, it's a little light on that half. It sounds really, really good, and I will not take that away. The sound in this movie is booming. It's very involving, and, the surround sound aspects of it are outstanding. However, in terms of a Dolby Atmos track, it's all right. It's not the greatest I've ever heard. Hands down, definitely not the greatest I've ever heard. It's okay. It's a little light on the overheads, although there are some scenes that use the overheads. Okay, it's never really, really immersive. It's a very clear audio track, and I think they did a great job with it. It's very loud. It's very, very clear. You really don't get any problems with levels as far as I heard. But in terms of, Atmos tracks I've heard in the past, it's not that great, and Disney, for some reason, has a little issue with that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's definitely not a great Atmos track. But for what it is, it's fantastic. Overall, watching this movie on 4K is a joy, and it really is just a phenomenal movie that's made even better by this 4K disc. Now, I'm going to get into the other stuff about this disc that I really, really liked, okay? And ironically enough, it's not on the 4K disc, it's on the regular Blu-ray. The special features on the Blu-ray are amazing. They're not extremely in-depth. There is the standout to me was a featurette called Strange Alchemy, which has the directors and writers kind of talking about how they put certain characters together and how they really use these characters to full effect, even though, not all the characters are all together at the same time. I really liked hearing that because that is one of my favorite aspects of the film. It's not an extremely long featurette. It's probably about, I think, like 10, 11 minutes or something, maybe less. But for what you get of it, it's really great. I kind of wish there was like a very long documentary about the film. There really isn't. But there is one thing on the Blu-ray disc that I really, really loved, and that's the commentary with the directors. Joe and Anthony Russo, the directors of this film, and they also directed Civil War, Captain America Civil War, and I should say Captain America the Winter Soldier. They directed those two films, which are my favorite films in the Marvel franchise. Their commentary is really eye-opening. And honestly, it's the reason to buy this. I'm not kidding. The commentary track is so enlightening and gives you such a great idea of what they were trying to do with the film, certain technical aspects of the film. They even talk about characters in the film that they really didn't have a chance to really give a lot of screen time to, but they talk about how, their comic book counterparts really inspired them to do certain things in the movie. It's very, very fascinating, and I love the fact that they got a chance to talk about it for the length of the film, and it's great. I mean, it's really, really great, and even though if you're not a big fan of commentary tracks, I highly recommend you watch the regular Blu-ray just to see the commentary track. Just to listen to the commentary track, I should say. The Blu-ray looks amazing for a 1080 Blu-ray. Upscaled to 4K, it looks great. It's not nearly as good as the 4K disc, but for a regular Blu-ray, it's an outstanding disc. But really, the reason to watch that Blu-ray is to watch it with the commentary on. Their commentary is one of the best I've ever heard, and I've heard some pretty good commentaries in the past, but that one is definitely a standout, and it's honestly worth the price of buying the disc. I'm not kidding. It is that good. Again, I'm not going to talk about some of the things that they talked about on that because if you haven't seen the movie, it's going to completely ruin the movie for you. But please, if you have seen this movie and you want to be enlightened, if you're like me and you're not a comic book expert, which I'm not, I love the movies, but I'm not as like a big comic book guy. And also the writers, I cannot remember their names. I'm sorry, I'm going to refer to the disc here. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. Those guys are also brilliant in terms of their writing and their knowledge of Marvel comics in the past, and their fandom of that really shows. So I highly recommend you buy Avengers Infinity War in 4K. This is one of the best discs I own in my collection, even though the sound is kind of left a little to be desired in terms of immersiveness. It's still a great, great disc. And it's well worth the money, very well worth the money. Even at $30, it's worth it. Anyway, I'm Andrew Cavanaugh. Thank you for coming back to Cavanaugh's Corner. Until next time, take it easy.